What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of AoS Trash Pandas. I'm your host, Rob, and with me, as usual, is some guy named Carson. What's up, Carson?
Who's that? Where's Carson?
Yeah, he's like
I'm Karsten.
You're that's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes Carlton, but never Carson.
Kirsten.
Yeah.
Carbson?
Yep. All of the above.
Carbon.
Meat Man. You will often answer to jerk. And if you don't believe me, call him a jerk at tournament.
Yep. I answer to jerk, moron, and what are you doing in my house?
Also, yeah. And also, if you've seen our short, a couple other things that I won't say on the podcast because this has not been labeled.
Not in the first minute, anyway. We can say it later. But,
yeah, ideally not. But we've Yo, what's up, Matthew? Thanks everyone for joining us. Okay, we'll just get right into it. There's like quite a bit of news to cover, and we don't, you know what I mean? Like we don't want to miss anything. We're definitely going to diverge from the topic at hand. So let's get right into it. Did you see the rumor engine?
I'm looking at it right now. And I did see it earlier. I don't actually know exactly what this is. It doesn't.
No idea.
So I saw a lot of people looking online saying online that this is like a new Catan or Satan or however you want to pronounce it for Necrons.
Oh.
But if you look at the newest one, like the Void Dragon, I think it is, he's got like the lightning or like whatever the warp energy is on him is just like super jagged and like it's almost like a web. It's not like this, which looks almost like Briar Thorn-esque.
Yeah.
So this to me is maybe like Skaven warp lightning energy of some kind. I think that's my guess.
That's interesting.
Because it's either like blowing a chunk of something away or it's like holding a chunk of something.
Oh, right? Maybe. I wasn't looking at it like lightning at all, to be honest. I was originally, I thought, because like, I mean, it's pretty low level take, but like, it looked like kind of like antlers to me, you know? So I was just like, I thought it was some kind of like chaos mutation of some kind, but I couldn't figure out what the middle thing was. I was like, it looked like a heart to me, like a rocky heart, or anyway. It doesn't look like lightning to me, but I like that idea. I like the idea of it blowing up. You know what I mean? Or some kind of like explosion of energy. It still kind of looks like a thorn to me of some kind, but the shape of it's all wrong, you know? Like, I could get my Warp Lightning spell, my Wartep, what's it called? The Warp Lightning Vortex Endless spell out. I think it's more like jagged, more like True Lightning on there, but that's
They could have also picked like the weirdest little side.
They could have.
This bigger thing is.
I don't know. Like anytime someone's like, it could be Skaven, I'm like, I'm on board. Let's do that. Let's do that. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So that's the rumor engine. Like honestly, like my immediate thought, even though like there's no evidence of it at all, I was thinking 40K. And I don't even know why. But that explosion idea is really cool. I hope it's true. I think we also have like a lot of us have like AoS 4 on the brain too, you know? So
yeah, definitely.
It could just be that. Actually maybe I have all the articles. So we've got a lot of information over the past week. So I'll see if I have everything here. The first one up, this is in no particular order. I didn't have time to figure out which came in what order. So I think
I can tell you the order of them if you want.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so the first one should be, here's how Battleplex battle. I can't pronounce Goddamn.
Yes.
Battle packs, battle plans, and the General's Handbook work in hashtag new AoS. That's
That's
number one.
that's what I've got up.
Number two is battle tactics
Okay.
are key to blah 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 blah.
Once again. Do 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 do. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Number three is new Stormcast Eternals Prosecutors soar into battle on wings of Azure
And
Flame.
then the last one was the one from today, Clash with Eldritch Manifestations.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
cool. So, right on. Well, we will go in that order then, probably. No guarantees. So here's how battle packs, battle plans, and the General's Handbook work in hashtag new AOS. Actually, that's something I wanted to bring up. We've never talked about this before in the podcast. Other people have talked about it. But what does everyone think? Now, whether you're watching now or you're watching, the archive later, what do you think about them always calling new editions new 40K, new AOS? What do you think about them never recognizing that these games have editions? It's this weird
calling it like 4.0.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems to have kind of changed in the general like ethos of like all entertainment. I feel like where no one wants to call no one wants to call it like Halo 6 anymore or anything like that. Like they kind of straight. I think they got to Halo 4, I believe, and then they're like Halo Reach, Halo Infinite, Halo ODST, Halo, and I know those aren't all in the same order or whatever, but
that's fair.
But at a certain point it gets kind of crazy.
That's true, but like they've always it's not always true. Like Street Fighter is still called like that. John Wick, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4. But they have never done that. In all of Warhammer history, fantasy, 40K, they have never acknowledged that we have editions. The entire community calls it AOS 2 and 3 and 4. And Fantasy Battles 7 and Warhammer 40K, we're currently on 10th edition. Everyone calls it 10th edition. But they don't recognize it. And it's just this weird thing that like I always think about it. Every time we have a new edition, I'm like, why don't they just call it? Like it is,
yeah.
We call it that. Like, I don't know. It's weird to me.
I mean, like the anti-capitalist cynic in me says they want you to buy old books by accident. Maybe. But that's a like borderline conspiracy theory, I think.
I actually can pretty much debunk that because if you buy, a lot of people don't know this, and so maybe it leads credence to it, but like if you buy a book, like once they've announced the new edition, if you buy a battle tome or whatever, you can go to them and you can say, hey, like I didn't know this was coming out, and they'll give you a full refund. I've known people that have
not know that.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people that have done it actually, and it was anyway. Regardless, it's just kind of a funny thing. Like, it's like I don't know. It's like you're talking to a crazy person, is what it feels like. It's like they're giving us information. And it's like they're a crazy person. They don't know what editions mean. You know what I mean? Like they live in their own world. They're like, well, this is the new edition. It's like, well, we've had 3 before this, so this makes it the 4th edition. You know. Anyway, I just yeah, like if they're gonna like rebrand, if they're gonna like have an end times every time there's like a new edition, then it'd be like, okay, sure, like we're now in the age of chaos or we're in the age of whatever. But it's just this funny thing. As someone who has checked new AOS, it isn't getting the uptake the marketing team would have liked. Interesting. Who has checked new AOS?
Maybe like the hashtag on Twitter.
Interesting.
Sorry, Mr. Musk. Sorry.
That's possible. I don't know. Like, when did you check it? Like, it would be that's interesting. I never thought about that kind of thing. Like, it would be hard to compare it for me anyway. Like, like I'm sure it was trending quite well when they made the original announcement and Skaven were coming back and everything like that. And now they're kind of trickling information out to us. So it's, Yeah, that's interesting. I I mean, we also like I did see like their stock prices before someone made a graph, and it was very interesting because like they were going like up, and then actually they were going up like this, and then the pandemic hit and it was just like boosh, like straight up and like over. The pandemic finishes, there's a huge dip back down, but then it goes right back up again, and we're still trending upward for AoS, 40K, all of that stuff. So it's pretty. We seem to be reaching new highs all the time, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, if there is any kind of lack of enthusiasm, like I'm actually only seeing straight up enthusiasm. I'm only seeing people that have been like absent from the hobby for a long time. I'm seeing them all coming back. So I think their numbers are going to be really good. And I'm not just saying that, obviously.
Yeah. I also feel like there's going to be a lot of cross pollination. I see on the Age of Sigmar subreddit, like literally every day, there's a post saying like, "Hey, I play 40K. The new edition has piqued my interest."
Yep.
And then they ask a question of some kind.
Yep.
And that's, if not once a day, at least multiple times a day. Like it's, or sorry, if not multiple times a day, it's at least once a day. Is what I meant to say.
I see it literally every day on the Facebook groups, especially the Skaven one. Like I just got someone because I'm like a moderator on the biggest Skaven group, and someone was like applying, and we to keep people for like there's a lot of like really crappy people who just come on to like sell stuff and do scams and that kind of thing. And so I created like a question. Originally it was like, what's your favorite Skaven unit? Right. And that kept out like everyone, but I think some people were anyway. So then the owner, I'm sure he'd be fine if I said his name, but like the owner that started the page was like, I'm going to change it to, why are you interested in Skaven? Right. And like just today, like I'm coming over from 40K, like 2 of them, you know, like, and like, yeah, it's going nuts. Yeah. I think it's going to be the best edition ever. The only possible flaw I can see in it is, and I'm not saying this to be a dick, but like it's Dominion. Like the Dominion box, it like I think that was a failure, you know. But the other thing too, though, like I do think it was a failure. But the thing I will say in its defense is Dominion came out right when COVID stopped, like literally like a month after, right? So that's right when you see the huge decline in their sales and whatnot. So that could be it too, you know, like people might just be like, I don't know, but I think it's going to sell incredibly well, you know, despite the call, despite everything. Anyway, okay. So battle packs and battle plans.
Also, hello, Beefy Crunch and Keith. Nice to see you in the
Yo,
chat.
what up, guys? Thanks for joining us. So, okay. Where should we start? I guess we'll start with battle packs and battle plans. Before playing any game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, you'll pick a battle pack. Spearhead. Well, anyway,
If you're teaching someone new, if you're bringing someone new to the hobby, you know, yeah.
you'll play Path to Glory, which is the second one. I'm just kidding. Spirit is interesting. I don't know. I've heard that the ones for 40K have been surprisingly popular, you know? And if we're picking between Spearhead and open play, well, obviously Spearhead is 10 times better than open play, right? And I don't think it's a bad way of getting people into the hobby, as you said. They are balanced against each other. But yeah. And then anyway, of course, there's match play and Path to Glory, as mentioned earlier. This will tell you which advanced rules models you're using and provides a selection of missions known as battle plans, and sometimes other modifiers on top of that. The First Blood Battle Pack is in the core rules for the new edition and uses all the advanced rules modules found therein. So that's interesting. I believe it's okay. Maybe actually, I won't go off of memory just because. Yeah, okay, it's right there at the top.
First Blood is basically Contest of Generals AoS
Yeah.
4 edition. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and First Blood is. Oh, I see. Well, First Blood is like the 3 battle plans that come. There's 3 different
know.
battle plans. Yeah.
That's what that's called, I thought.
Contest of Generals?
Isn't it?
I think that's the old Spearhead. I think Contest of Generals was specifically 1,000 points. Spearhead might end up being good. It's true. The story on Dominion from Warpfire Minis is that they promised unlimited orders, but didn't deliver while still taking orders, so the LFGs got the box months later into an exhausted market. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that before. Very, very, very interesting. Sorry, what was the verdict on the Contest of Generals?
Inconclusive. I'll take the L on this one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know anyone who's actually played it. Darn it. Why is it telling me to update something right now? Okay.
Apparently, Keith says Contest of Generals, the 3.0 core rules match play pack. Yeah.
3.0 core rules match play pack.
Yeah, so First Blood would be the same thing essentially, because it says it uses all the advanced rules
Okay.
and it's 3 battle plans, and yeah.
I thought it was specifically 1,000 points. What? Anyway, whatever.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
We like what this really is the equivalent on from 40K. Like they're doing all the same things. Where like you'll play strictly what's in the box. Everything is pre-selected for you, you know, that kind of deal. So it should be good. So anyway, First Blood has a choice of 3 battle plans for games that last 4 battle rounds. So don't worry, everyone. Everything else has 5 battle rounds. It's just these ones in the core rulebook. And that's very interesting. You know, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, you'll need to score.
Could also be a typo.
It could be. I don't think so. That's just my opinion. This is me scrying into the future and trying to understand what GW wants. It's like what a girl wants, but more Warhammery. Where were we? You'll need to score more victory points than your opponent to win. And the scoring here is simple. At the end of your turn, a player scores 2 points for holding 1 objective, 2 further points for holding 2 or more, another 2 points for holding more objectives than their opponent, and 4 if they scored their battle tactic. So it's just the primaries, essentially. And yeah, it's 10, or what do you call it? Or no, it's not. 4 if you scored your battle tactic. So everything's
10 total.
Yeah, everything's the same as. Maybe it is a typo then. Like, in my memory, in my brain hole, I was thinking that that these were the ones only for. This is not the General's Handbook ones, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's no real difference though, other than it's just not from the General's Handbook. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually the ones that are in the core rules are more simple. But this is just like 1 round shorter.
I think so. If it is 4 rounds, I think what they're doing is they're saying that all 3 of these like core battle plans have the exact same 1-2 more scoring. Whereas I feel like in the GHB they might change that up a little bit. That's also so. A couple people were talking about. So we just found out another piece of information here,
Yeah.
which is that it's not that you score 1 victory point for each of these things. You score 2, 2, 2, and then 4 for your battle tactic. I have a feeling that we're going to see some more like granular primary scoring. So it's not just going to be like 2, 2, 2. It's going to be like this one's worth 4, this one's worth 2, and this one's worth. Well, I guess there's none more after that. But like, or you could be.
That's true.
No, there's like a 10 objective map or something crazy like that, and then each one is worth 1 up to a maximum of 6 or something like that. You know, like you could.
I think we already saw that, didn't we?
Did we?
I think in one of the battle plans. Isn't one of the battle
We'll find
plans?
out later.
Yeah, that's true. I think we saw that. The one that's like where you have one in your deployment, and then there's one in their deployment, and then there's two on the sides that are right in the middle. And I think it's like 4 if you have theirs, 1 if you have your own, and like 2 on the sides.
That is it. It's Border War. I'm just
Border
looking
War.
down there
I was
now.
gonna
Yeah.
say it was Border War, but I was like, that sounds like a dumb name. And I know these are all chosen from the old ones, but whatever. And I don't mean the old ones like the Slan, or the progenitors of the Slan. Okay. Either Necrons or Skaven Lightning Thing. I mean, yeah, 1 or 2 choices, secondaries, and enhancement right. In Combat Patrol, it's 2 choices. Right. Yeah. But it's like simplified, and yeah, I mean, I do think it'll, like Carson said, it'll be a great way of teaching people. Anyway, okay, back to this. In the First Blood battle pack, each battle plan comes with a different objective, layout, and a unique twist, a rule that can alter how you score victory points. Provide the underdog, the player with fewer victory points at the start of the round, with a boon or both. In the Stake the Claim battle plan, for example, the twist allows the underdog to choose an objective and prevent it from being controlled for a round. So this one is, shaped like a 5 on a dice. And it's split down the middle for those that are listening. It's not like Dawn of War. And the twist is, at the start of the battle round, if there is an underdog, they can pick one objective. That objective is no longer controlled by either player and cannot be controlled this battle round.
So the interesting thing is that we learned that the underdog mechanic before was the player at the start of the battle round who started with less victory points. So there cannot be an underdog in round 1.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's possible that there's no underdog in any of the rounds, because you could be tied so you can't have one in round 1.
Right.
And then round 2, you could be tied, and then 3, 4, you could be tied, and you could be tied going into 5, and then somebody wins.
Yep.
So that's kind of neat.
I like it. I think this is really great game design. They have a bit of a rubber band mechanic. It's not too harsh, but it also takes like critical thinking, real-time strategy, and like just kind of thinking on your toes a bit. So I love it, to be honest. Yeah. And when they said twist, I'm thinking Warcry. I actually think they should have called it something else, because twist like makes me remember Maelstrom of War from 40K and like things like that, where it was like the one of them I remember in Warcry, or one of them I remember in Warcry was no one gets to fly. And you're just like, okay, well, that's like my Night Haunt guy's allegiance ability. Like, that's like what they do. And so, or like one of them was like no shooting outside of like whatever it was. It was like 3 or 4 inches. And you're just like, okay, like this, it's just like, it just makes it like, okay, well, like you get that twist and you're just like, I guess I'll just concede this game to you. And can we play something fun that like I have a chance at? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you say that. However, the equivalent of a twist would cover technically like what Frigid Zephyr does in the current GHB, which is effectively the same thing, where it's like you can't fly and you can't shoot outside of 12 inches. So
yes, and
that would be a twist in this equivalent. Like
no, I know. Said. And that is the dumbest battle plan they've come up with in a while. And that's saying something, because there's always one dumb one. In every battle pack, there is a dumb one, Like, traditionally, it's been you can't do reserves. So it's like, like Night Haunt, or back in the day, Stormcast. Like, there's a bunch of armies that, like, that's one of the things that they do. It's like the tax, one of the taxes you pay on just owning the army, on your points in general. And it's like, nope, sorry. Also, it's like, or like there was one a lot of the time where you couldn't like set up, you couldn't teleport, so it's like, okay, well, Skaven's whole thing, Sylvaneth's whole thing, there's like just so many, right? Anyway, Frigid Zephyr is an absolute crap battle plan, and you know, the twist made me think of those stupid, like the dumb stuff that they've chosen. Like, so I've seen cool twists. I've actually seen really fun twists, and like they're not always balanced, but sometimes they're really cool. I remember one, the twist, and this is Warcry, so it's like whatever you're playing for, like it's like a 30-minute game, right? But it was like if you kill their general, then you win. You know, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because and you can be strategic around it too, right? But anyway, like, I'm sure there's a synonym for twist, an extra rule. You know what I mean? Like, they could just use another word. It's just like, I don't want to say it's triggering, but it's literally like a keyword. It's keyword locked to my own trauma. Playing some of their stupid rules.
That's a trigger.
I know, but like I hate using that word because it's so overused right now. Like, I'm so triggered by this minor inconvenience or you know, whatever. Anyway, should we move on to the next bit?
Sure.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of text after that as well.
Sure.
It says, First Blood is a fantastic framework for your first forays into match play games. I really like the alliteration of these articles, I'm noticing. And an excellent tool for easy and balanced pickup games. But if you're after a knottier tactical challenge or want to start testing your mettle for tournaments, really breaking out the thesaurus today, you'll want to play games with the General's Handbook, the first of which comes in the upcoming launch set. For the first time ever, all of your battle plans, battle tactics, and the 2024 to 25 season rules will be included in the launch set. So you'll have everything you need to start playing match play games right away. Let's find out what they look like.
Before we do, real quick, this is a great move. Because, like, do you remember the, was it Miniac? Someone made, like, this, like, the problem with AoS video. And what,
I think it's Miniac.
Yeah, I think so, right? And then he was just like he was like, the problem with it is all these things. And then the answer that everyone gave him is, well, you actually need the General's Handbook, and it explains all of those things that you're missing. You just need this extra book. And his totally fair reaction is, wait, why do I have to buy another book to know the core rules of the game outside of the core rules, right? So this is great. Even if they end up like sacrificing, like I bet you they end up sacrificing a lot of the lore, because like no one cares about the lore really. You know what I mean? Like most people aren't, like, they're getting their introduction into the world of Age of Sigmar. Like a lot of people will get it through the core rules, like I did for 40K. Like I played back in the day, but when I got back into it with 8th edition, I read like cover to cover all the lore in there, and I was just like, this is awesome, and it did get me into the world. But I think they're realizing that it'd be much more beneficial and cost saving for them to include it. Yeah, I have heard Combat Patrol was pretty successful for newer players, but the mileage varied, particularly on the Tau. Hopefully the same with Spearhead. Excited for Spearhead tourneys. Yeah, that's kind of, I'm hearing similar sort of rumblings. Yes, they did, Keith. They had it. The old AoS had a twist. A lot of them did, and a lot of them were crazy. Yeah. I want my fluff. Like, I hear you, but the thing is too, is that like the fluff in the core rules are like, they're repeated. You know what I mean? So like, and I mean, like, I care more now than ever, because like a lot of it's going to be like the development of what's been happening with the Skaven. So I'm sure that'll be included. So screw everyone else. That's what I'm generally saying. Yeah. Would you like to read out the General's Handbook?
Sure. Match play tournaments use the framework presented by the General's Handbook, and it's a great way of standardizing events worldwide. It also provides extra tactical challenges in the form of season rules, which may alter how you approach building lists or your strategic decisions on the table. The first of these books for the new edition of Age of Sigmar is the General's Handbook 2024 to 25. It features 12 battle plans, so same as always, plucked from the past 8 years of competitive play and reimagined for the new edition, as voted for by the Warhammer Studio, playtesters, and tournament organizers. A thrilling trip down memory lane for veterans, and a guarantee of robust battle plans for new players. Each time, or each game in this pack runs for 5 rounds, and each battle plan explains the scoring rules and any twists that might be involved. Border War, a firm favorite from 2016, is back and gives us a glimpse at how scoring works in the new General's Handbook. So, oh, this actually is it. So we do get to see a GHB,
Yeah.
a couple GHB plans. That's kind of nice.
And see, it says score 5 victory points if you control the objective wholly within enemy territory.
Yeah,
I was
this
thinking
one's
it was
interesting
4.
because it says like there's a bunch of ways that you can technically score more than
Yeah.
6.
But you are maxed at 6.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can score. So basically, the twist is that add 1 to hit rolls for units in the underdog's army if they charge this turn and are contesting an objective wholly within enemy territory. The objective wholly within enemy territory. So you see that there's one in each territory, and then there's one that's like on both technically. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's like it's very situational, but it's definitely applicable. You know, a free +1 to hit in a certain situation could be really, really nice. Right. And then it says each player scores victory points at the end of each of their turns as follows. You get 1 if you control the objective in your territory. You score 2 for each of the objectives on like the sides. And then you score 5 if you control the objective wholly within enemy territory. So it's actually not possible to score all 6 unless you touch the enemy territory objective.
Right. Yeah. You'll be scoring
So
5.
Which I like.
Me too.
I like it kind of sucks that, well, it doesn't suck, but like,
no, it sucks.
When you get to really, really competitive play, and one of the reasons why it took like 5 hours to get to round 2 in Nick Tassone's and Tom Maudsley's like final at the World Championships, is because you can effectively like mirror play and max score the entire time. Whereas like on a battle plan like this, there's no way, unless you're like just blitzing into your opponent's army turn 1. There's no way that you're scoring all 6 on the first turn.
Yeah. So
it's nice.
And let's not forget, the objectives are small.
Yeah.
They're not half the size. They're a little bit more than half the size. They're probably like 60% of the old objectives, right? So
yeah,
that's gonna be a crazy.
That it is.
Yeah. And I like it.
One thing I also noticed is that there's no deployment rules in each battle plan, which means that I have to assume that means that they've standardized deployment rules for either the core rules or maybe it explains it in like the table of battle packs or something like that.
Yep.
So that way you don't have like a no risk without reward type battle plan where it's like, this one doesn't say 9 inches, and then GW is like, I guess it doesn't, and then everyone deploys.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, I don't even get me started. Yes, that is Bahamut. Bahamut is building Screech of Vermin King, because that is the only named character Vermin Lord you can currently find. And kudos, Bahamut. I actually chose to do like a little bit of a conversion on mine, and so I could play him as the Warbringer or as Lord Screech, because that way now I have every single weapon on every single Vermin Lord, because I've got... Anyway, you guys got to stop me from talking about Skaven.
And then Leviticus says that the new objectives are going to have a 7.57 inch diameter, whereas the current objectives they have a 12-inch diameter. So that's like a significant... Let's just do some quick math here. 7.57 divided by 12. Wow! The new objectives are 63% of the size of the old ones. So nearly half as small.
That was pretty close. I said 60%.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Pretty good. Do we want to continue on?
I guess.
Sorry.
If I have to. The underdog earns a little more bite when they attempt to contest the enemy's home objective and caps the scoring from objectives at 6 per turn. Battle tactics score 4 victory points on every battle plan. Did you notice that the ratio is the same? It's just like point inflation, because everything's being inflated now, including points apparently.
Yes.
It'd be like used to be like 1, 2 more, so you'd 3 to 2 points, so that's still 60 to 40%, right?
I think I think I understand like the thought process that's going on here for GW.
Okay.
The reason why they did that, I think, is because they wanted to say, okay, we want every battle plan to reach a certain number. That's very nice for
Yep.
tournament organizers. It's really easy to keep track of for like how did you do in a certain game.
Yep.
Because if you look at like Geometric Pulse versus Towers in the Tundra, a score in Geometric Pulse might be like 32 to like 6. And someone's like, whoa, that's crazy.
Right.
And then Towers in the Tundra, it might be like 15 to 10. And then
Right.
you think, wow, that was a really close game, but it actually wasn't because Towers in the Tundra has very low scoring potential.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
true.
what they wanted to do is have a standardized amount of scoring, but still have the ability to play with like certain things being worth way more. So if they capped it at 5, that means that the most they could ever award a primary objective is 3,
Mm.
and
Right.
in doing so, that means that they can't award any other primary victory points, right?
Right.
So I think by doubling it allows them to do what they kind of did with Border War, where it's like this one's worth 5, but these other ones are worth, or sorry, this one's 1 and these other are like 2, but it caps at 6 kind of thing. So it gives them a little bit of wiggle room to scale how much primaries are worth.
That's true. I agree. I think so. I the only thing is like I kind of feel like battle tactics being worth just flat 4, whereas they're being more modular with the primaries means that like in a way the battle tactics are worth more now than they were. Does that make sense? It's like if you get them, you just get 4 points. Whereas like if you look at Border War here, most of the time you're probably going to be scoring 3 to 5 points on your turn, right? And Border War, the nice thing about Border War is it does kind of give a little credence to taking the first turn, because you can just get 5 points presumably. Whereas anyway, putting that aside, it's I'm not sure that like I kind of wish that I mean we could see this too. Like we could see like a maximum of 4 points on your battle tactics, and they have like 2 parts to them or something. I kind of hope that's the way they go because I would like the onus, like the focus, to be on the primaries. You know what I mean? But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I see what you mean. I have some thoughts on that, but I'm actually going to save it until the
Okay.
next article because
Cool.
that's battle tactics.
Noise. The Vice. Oops. Wait. Do we already? I already said that. Yeah. I'm scoring up to. Actually, maybe I didn't read this out. The underdog earns. Oh no, I was in the middle of it. That's right. Battle tactics score 4 victory points on every battle plan. This new scoring split makes battle tactics very important. So taking priority for the double turn becomes an even tougher decision. For each battle plan in the General's Handbook, your victory points each round will add up to a maximum of 10, as you were saying earlier, and the total is always 50. This makes scoring easy for event organizers to keep track of. Like you just said, it's a super good idea. And I did see the Keith, your comment about battle tactics. The thing is like, I know what you mean. And what I try to do while my opponent is picking my battle tactic is and obviously things are going to change in the new edition, but like as it sits right now, I'm like thinking about what I'm going to use my CP for that turn. I'm thinking about my heroic action, that sort of thing. And like there'll be even more to kind of think about. There's a lot more reactionary stuff like unbinding and doing things like that. So having said that, I think it'll all depend on kind of how they manage it. And like the reason that I actually don't mind it, like I actually thought they were going to kind of get rid of battle tactics in one way or another, and it was sort of half right. They got rid of the book ones, and I'm very pleased about that because that was like one of the main balancing issues that they had. But the nice thing about this is I was going to bring this up earlier, and then I read it out, but like it's how they're kind of balancing the double turn. They're using battle tactics to stop people from just getting these sort of landslide victories in turn 3, and it now it's like a real legitimate decision. So
It is.
Yeah.
Because you're sacrificing 4 victory points for the ability to double
4.
turn someone.
Yeah.
And 4 is, as we know, almost 10% of your entire, actually it's 8% of your entire potential victory point earning in a game.
Yeah.
Right? So to give away to just like chop off 8% of your total scoring potential is like a pretty big deal for doing that. But maybe it's worth it, right? Maybe it'll win you the game and you can just clean up later. So
I mean, in Will and my game, it was Idith versus Fire Slayers. Like he was up on points. So if at one point, like when I took that double turn against him, like which I still would have done, and I still would have because like Gotrek was just going to kill everything if I didn't, right? But like if I but like then in that point in time, it would have been a very hard decision to make because it's like he's already up on points. I'm already just barely clawing back into this kind of thing. And you don't know how things are going to go. Like I didn't know what was going to happen with Gotrek. Red green. I love the red green quote. That's amazing. I haven't seen a red green quote in a while. Most of my regular gaming group will play AoS maybe once a month. Battle tactics are fine if people play all the time and memorize them. Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. Like they're probably taking an inordinate amount of time to pick them. I mean, the other thing that like what I do is I just help people. You know what I mean? I'm just like, and I do that all the time. Like I do it, you know, on camera, obviously, and I do it even more. Man, maybe not. I don't know. Probably about the same amount off camera, and I'm just like, what about this? What about that? And then I'm kind of feel involved in their turn too, and I don't know. Maybe that'll annoy some people, but I'm glad to see the grand strats go. I am too. Weirdly, like I've been watching a couple of streams, and people are like, "No, my grand strats," and I'm like, "No, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Like, get it though." Like eject those things into the stratosphere. I never want to see them again because like you're not it's just like it's like an annoying thing that you got to think about. It's like an annoying reminder. It's not like you're not even playing the game. It's like, you know, you're just betting on how well your opponent remembers to anyway.
yeah, and then you look over at your opponent who's playing Zinch, and they're just like,
"Hi."
Yeah.
I scored it before I even started. You're like, God dang it. Yeah, exactly. Nice. I'm at peace that I'm never going to remember these. Awesome. Would you like to explain the Vice?
The Vice. Sure. The Vice. Battle Plan 4, Table 2. It's from 2021, which I believe is... that's AoS 2, obviously, but that's... Oh, no. Wait, is that AoS 3? I don't know anything. It doesn't matter. The twist at the end of the... at the start of the second battle round, after determining which player is the active player must remove the 4 starting objectives and set up a new objective at each of the next locations shown on the map. At the start of the 4th battle round, after determining which player is the active player... I've said that. Good God. The active player must remove the 4 objectives and set up 1 new objective in the location shown at the center of the map. So basically, the TLDR is that the objectives go like this, towards the center.
Yep.
Every turn, and then at the end of their turn, the underdog can pick 1 objective to inflict D3 mortal damage. I almost said wounds. It almost got me. On each unit contesting that objective, roll separately for each unit. So it just happens. It's not like a 4-up or anything like that. Each player scores victory points at the end of each of their turn as follows. Score 2 victory points if you control at least 1 objective. Score 2 victory points if you control at least 2. And then 2 if you control more. So it's just 1, 2 more. And then 4 for your battle tactic. But in battle rounds 4 and 5 only, score 2 victory points if there are no enemy units within 6 inches of the remaining objective. So I think that means that in battle rounds 4 and 5, primary scoring is capped at 4. No, it's not. Because you control 1, you control more, because there's only 1 objective. Yeah. And then you can control... you can get 6. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about the terrain thing in a second. But I think one of the more interesting things is that like they don't have a plan for teleporting objectives. You know what I mean? And I don't know, like the mats, you know what I mean? Like those objective neoprene mats or whatever, you know, sometimes they're plastic and whatnot. They're so great. Like it's just so easy to know exactly who is and who isn't on. That now in the new edition where it's 3 inches from 40 millimeters. So there's various different places that make coins and so that makes it a little bit better. But, what do you think? Like about?
I'm not sure I understand what the grievance is here.
Well, it's not really a grievance. It's just like, if you have like the coins, like the teleporting objective thing isn't that bad. But if you're using like the neoprene mats or that kind of thing, then like moving it through terrain and whatnot, like halfway through the battle is kind of a nightmare.
I don't know. There's a chance that terrain cannot be touching objectives whatsoever. Now that objectives have such a smaller footprint.
Right.
So if
that's
the case,
interesting.
then you just pick it up and put it somewhere else. That's just pure guess.
That is actually a really interesting idea.
Because if you look at a lot of tournament packs right now, will specify that you cannot set up a garrisonable terrain on an objective, even though the core rules say it has to be more than 3 inches away from objectives. It's 6 inches for garrisonables. So it's possible that now that objectives are 7.57 inches diameter, you just can't touch them at all.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
I kind of hope that's the case, actually.
Me too.
Because I agree with you.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks when, you have to like slide it under and if you have to move objectives or anything like that. So yeah.
Exactly. And then there is like a recommended terrain setup now too. And it does seem like it might avoid all of those objectives.
Yep, and I think they chose this one for the recommended terrain setup because the objectives move.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, this one's kind of neat. It shows like area terrain, obstacle, obscuring terrain, place of power, which isn't something that we've heard what that does before. We see terrain abilities and stuff, so it'll be interesting to see like more details on what the terrain rules actually are. But
right, that's true.
It's neat that they have that. Do you want to talk about the... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say hi to Dan. It's been a while. Thanks for joining us. And he says, minus his huge OBR bone tithe. Yeah, that's true. Good luck not putting that on something. Okay. Sorry, what did you... I'm sorry, I totally lost
I said, do you want to do the honor guard rule?
Sure, why certainly. So season rules. The season rules add extra nuance and theming to your games. For the 2024-2025 season, which kicks off with the release of the new edition, the defining rule is Honor Guard. This lets you pick one of 3 powerful abilities to give to a single Honor Guard unit in your general's regiment. Since these abilities are chosen during the deployment phase, you can use them to adapt your opponent's roster rather. So bodyguard, a wise general surrounds themselves with trusted veterans, warriors whose battlefield exploits are renowned amongst their peers. Your army can use one of the following abilities. Pick a unit in your general's regiment that is not your general to be the honor guard. You can pick a unit in reserve. If you use this ability, you cannot use any other honor guard abilities. Effect, subtract 1 from the attacks characteristic of enemy units' melee weapons while they are in combat with your general if both of the following are true. The honor guard is wholly within 6 inches of your general. The honor guard did not charge.
Yeah. And then it says the defensive choice is bodyguard, which we just read. And then above it also says, as you mentioned, this is one of 3 abilities.
Right.
So,
but it doesn't say do a minimum of 1.
That's correct.
So,
but maybe there's a core rule that says
that's true.
Attack characteristic cannot be less than 1.
That's true. Then that'd be it.
So it's this is interesting. I'm curious to see like what the other 2 are.
Same.
Maybe there's going to be like a casting one. Maybe there's going to be one that like adds 1 to hit rolls or something like that. It'll be interesting.
You will. Let's see here. The defensive choice is bodyguard, an ability that turns your honor guard into a human, dwarden, demon, verminous, etc. shield for your general, reducing the efficacy of their assailants when they're caught up in the brawl of melee. The General's Handbook 2024-25, found in the impending launch box, comes in a card format, which I'm actually excited about as well, featuring season rules, battle tactics, battle plans, and scoring cards in a handy format. I'm not sure what the asterisk is for. The standalone release version will contain all of this, alongside the core rules, advanced rules, the latest rules for endless spells, and a tournament organizer pack providing guidance for event organizers. Next, we'll be taking a look at some of the battle tactics that you'll be trying to score in the new edition of Age of Sigmar. Those of you itching to learn about Spearhead and Path to Glory, stay tuned in the coming weeks. So, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I think we can move right along to battle tactics.
I think that was like the more boring of the articles.
Yeah, that was pretty dry. Yeah. But overall interesting.
Yeah, we learned some stuff and we saw some previews of rules, which is kind of nice. So
indeed, I think that article is more interesting if you're into the competitive side of things. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, battle tactics. So, the start of your turn, you pick one battle tactic using the Tactic Gambit ability. Everything's an ability now. I'm not sure about this, to be honest, but whatever. We'll wait and see. Upon completing the battle tactic, you'll be rewarded with 4 valuable victory points. To supplement the 6 you can score each round from that game's battle plan. You can basically just pick a battle tactic that you have not yet attempted. Okay. This is
I can't wait. Every game I'm going to be like, I choose to use my tactical gambit
ability.
Hey,
no! God damn it. That won't get old at all.
No. Yeah. I'm going to make people remember it too.
Nice.
Like, sorry, you didn't use tactical gambit. I guess you can't score a battle tactic. My bad. Or your bad, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I'll only let you pick one if you say it's a tactical gambit.
Yeah.
You can only pick a battle tactic you haven't yet attempted, and a crucial change in the new edition is that you can't pick a battle tactic if you win the priority roll and choose to take a second consecutive turn. Importantly, however, if your opponent wins the priority roll and decides to let you take 2 turns in a row, you can still pick a battle tactic. You can't be forced to miss out. We were all waiting for this to be the case. It's very important, obviously, and yeah, glad that they thought ahead. Tactical gambit. I choose you. Each battle plan in the core rules and then the new General's Handbook allows you to score a maximum of 10. We already knew this, yeah, from the past article. Yeah. Anyway, a double turn can have a major impact on the game. Choosing to forfeit a battle tactic might let you consolidate your control of the board or use your momentum to surge forth and severely damage your opponent's army. Though new command abilities like countercharge give your opponent more tools than ever to stall your momentum. On the other hand, if you misjudge and can't fully capitalize on your double turn, you could find yourself quickly falling behind in victory points. This is definitely the best way they've ever thought of to manage the double turn. If this doesn't stop the naysayers, then I just don't know what will. They'll never be happy, you know?
I think there's a lot of people that are not going to care. And they won't even know that this is a thing. They'll be like, double turn? That's stupid.
Yep. I mean, that's what happened in 3rd edition. They're doing more and more, you know, but that was still, yeah, definitely the case in 3rd. Universal battle tactics. This is interesting. Seize the center is the first one. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn. If 2 or more friendly units are within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield and are not in combat. 3 inches is not a lot. So this seems like a good one to take top of turn 1. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. That being said, though, you're presenting yourself to your enemy, which isn't great.
But they're
especially if they can take a double too. It's
true, but then if they take the double, then they're missing out on the battle tactic. And you can also get on all the objectives. On some of them, I think it's gonna be I'm more incentivized to take the first turn than ever. You know, the top of the first turn rather. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Just thinking about it, so the center of the table is 22 inches in. If you're on a battle plan that is let's say 11 up, that's probably the furthest away you can deploy from it. That means you have to get 2 units to move 8 inches, I think, to go from 11 to 18.
They have
or 19, sorry.
Wait, I'm not sure what you mean. Like if it's Dawn of War,
Yeah.
you're
So you're
11
11 inches
inches.
up.
You're 11 inches from the middle of the board,
Yeah.
and you have to be 1.5 inches back. So you're like 9.5 inches away if you
You don't have to
deploy
be
on the
one.
line.
You just have to be. You just have to be like 3 inches from the center, not wholly within.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I was thinking like it was a diameter for some stupid reason. So then, yeah, so then it would be 8 inches. Right. So you just need to be able to move 8 inches on 2 units. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's not hard, frankly.
No, it's not too hard. Dan did also just bring up a good point in the chat, which is that he said all of these, but specifically this one is very interesting with the knowledge that there's a countercharge
Right.
combat ability in the game now. So it's just like, cool, you've gotten just within 12 inches of me.
Nice. Yeah.
I've gotten, I'm at like +1 or something to charge. I don't think I'm going to do this, but for a CP, I might, break your battle plan or battle tactic, right? Like I might cost you 4 victory points for the cost of 1 CP if you don't particularly care about that CP, right?
Well, by the same token, though, the countercharge that happens at the end of the phase.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Like you could countercharge and kill the unit that was sitting there. That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it seems.
You don't actually even have to kill them. You just have to stay in combat with them.
Oh, that's true.
The center says
I forgot.
not in combat.
Right.
And then another interesting thing too is that if there are units that have run and charge, we've seen that the redeploy, as someone else in the meet mentioned, we've seen the redeploy counts as a run move, right? So
sorry, say that again. What?
we know that the redeploy command ability counts as a run move.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if you have run and charge, you can still redeploy for D6 inches closer to the center of the battlefield and then try to countercharge as well, which is pretty fun.
Could you?
Yep.
But it counts as a run.
Counts as a run. If you have run and charge, you can do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part. Yeah, that's true. If you have run and charge, you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, take the flanks, surround the enemy, then close in for the kill. So this is basically surround and destroy, the easier version. It says you
the better
complete this-
version. Like I actually think
Yeah.
surround and destroy is trash. But
Some people would disagree, but yes,
I'm sure. Yeah.
it does suck sometimes. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you have at least one friendly unit within 6 inches of each short battlefield edge. None of those units are wholly within friendly territory, and none of those units were set up this turn. So you can't, even if they're started on the battlefield, you can't teleport them to another edge. So that's kind of interesting. However, it says just within 6 inches. It doesn't have to be wholly within, so you could have like the tail end of your unit just barely touching the 6-inch mark on a short battlefield edge.
Right.
And then none of them can be wholly within friendly territory, so you can have most of them within friendly territory, just one of them slightly out. So that's pretty nice. The only thing that sucks, if there's ever a hammer and anvil battle plan, this is just straight up not possible to do. Because if you have like both short battlefield edges fully in both players' territories, then you can't possibly have both short battlefield edges covered, right? You understanding here? Sorry.
Oh,
pretend-
yeah.
pretend my
Yeah.
screen-
No. I
my-
totally got
my
it.
arms are the
I
territories
totally
of
got
the
it. Yeah.
player.
Wow.
This sides.
Yeah. I mean, you could, but it would be.
If you had like a 40-person unit or something like that,
Oh, because
and
you
strung
can't.
them out all the way here, and then one of them was outside of your territory,
Yeah.
then you could do it. But it's so unlikely that that's going to be the case that it's
Right.
basically impossible, right?
Right. That's fair.
So it's kind of neat.
I like it.
But overall, easier for sure.
Overall, just way better, and hopefully they thought of all this. And then the other thing too is like these are universal, and these battle plans are universal too. So it's not like it's screwing anyone over in particular.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Slay the entourage. Pick a unit in the enemy's general regiment. This you complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed. So, sheesh.
Yep. So this one has some like list building consequences. Like maybe you don't want to put a super weak unit in your general's regiment, even if it gets you closer to being one drop, just
Right.
because it opens up a tactic against you, right? So
Right.
sounds
Yeah.
kind of neat.
I like it. And they can
Yeah,
be injured too, which is interesting.
they can be injured. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
So like you got like one unit on one wound, and you're just like, okay, well, I choose you. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. Oh, and now we've got the Grand Alliance ones too.
Yeah,
Oops.
yeah. So the Grand Alliance ones are specific to the GHB, which is kind of interesting. There's four for each, or sorry, two for each Grand Alliance.
And we're only seeing one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've seen three out of the, I think, so there's 6 or 8 generic battle tactics
Did it
for
say?
everyone. 6 universal battle tactics,
Oh, sorry, 16
which
universal.
are used in both First Blood and the General's Handbook battle packs. So basically, like First Blood is going to have, we'll be able to use those battle tactics.
Wait, sorry. How many are there of the universal battle tactics?
6.
6. Sorry, I could have sworn you said 16, and I was just like,
No,
what? That's
so we saw
crazy.
3 of 6 of those.
Okay,
Um,
3 of
which is
6.
kinda nice.
Right, and
And,
we've
and
seen
I really
half.
like that there are, it's like mostly universal, and then instead of it being army specific, it's Grand Line specific, which kind of makes sense.
It is better. It's better. Like the less there are, the less there you have of people like Keith's friends who just like can't remember which one to do or whatever.
Yeah.
It just makes the choices easier.
And it's nice when you go up against someone and say, okay, I know that you are Grand Alliance Order. There are only 8 battle tactics that I have to keep track of for you to be able to do, and 6 of them I can do. So there's realistically only 2 that I have to pay attention to that you can also,
Right.
score an initiative, right?
Absolutely.
But it's just a way easier on the mental load, and you don't have to be like, okay, what does this person play? Zinch? Is there one where you just cast a bunch of spells? I don't know, sure. And then like you're just having to like read someone's 5 book tactics, which is pretty awful.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% a fan of this.
Same.
100%. Do you want to read the?
Sure. I'll do order.
Sure.
And so you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are one or more friendly units wholly within each quarter of the battlefield and more than 6 inches from all enemy units.
So they give the Stormcast tactic to everyone in order, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Which is fair. Like I think this is a solid battle tactic. Like it's definitely like it's a win more battle tactic in some ways, where it's just like if you just murder your opponent and you're like, what do I do now? That you just plop everyone in 4 different quarters and there's your battle tactic. Yeah, but it's not like an auto score by any means.
Not
right?
even close, especially with the counter charge and a few other things. Like they don't have to be in combat range; they just have to be within 6 inches. So like a decent redeploy might screw you over. Yeah. Cool. And then the chaos one is pick an objective controlled by your opponent. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if 2 or more friendly units charge this turn. 1 or more units are contesting that objective, and you control that objective.
So I thought that this objective was really, or battle tactic was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I rated it like number 1, I think. But it was brought up to me that because the objectives are smaller, this is definitely harder.
It is harder than yeah.
Yeah, because there's like a couple, there's a bunch of different like qualifiers to get this. Number 1, your opponent has to control an objective. Number 2, you have to take that objective. Number 3, you have to charge with 2 or more friendly units. And number 4, one of those 2 units or more has to be contesting that objective.
The problem with multiple layers to a tactic is there's more points of failure. And yeah, like there's, like a redeploy could, of a giant could stop you from controlling something. Something could get countercharged. It could die. Like there's just so many things that could go wrong here. That, yeah, I think I can't remember. I don't think this was my favorite at the beginning. Um, but yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
it's not the worst one for sure. Yeah.
This one is kind of like a. So I think reclaim the realms. The order one was definitely like some armies are just going to like auto score it essentially. Like Stormcast, who can be teleporting in all over the place, is going to be wanting to do it a lot. Though
Right.
it can be messed with redeploy and counter charges we talked about before. Ordained charge is one of those ones where it's like if you prepare for it, you should be able to score it every game, but it's failable. It's like this is like a yellow, on the scale of like difficulty, a yellow, I
Yeah.
would say, where it's like you can
Medium.
you can fail it, but it's definitely possible. It's not super super hard.
Totally agreed. Yeah.
And then moving on to death, mark for the grave. The flame of defiance burns bright in those souls, Dreadmaster. Let the grim winds of Shyish snuff out that fire. Pick a non-hero enemy that has not had any models slain this battle. If there are no non-hero enemy units on the battlefield, you can pick any enemy unit. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if that unit is destroyed this turn. Also, most of the time, pretty easy to score this one, I think.
Yep.
You just have to pick a fresh unit that hasn't lost any models. It can even be like a monster that's lost a bunch of wounds. It just
Yep.
specifies models. Um,
And it says non-hero,
yeah,
so
exactly. However, you are going to go up against some things where like this is not going to be easy whatsoever, right? It's going to be super difficult to score this. Maybe it's late game and you just haven't had an opportunity. But yeah, out of all the ones we've seen so far, I think this one is the easiest so far.
it might be.
But there's some play there.
There is. And we're still missing more than half the rules anyway.
Yeah.
So, and we don't even know half the other battle tactics. So like, it's very hard to judge, but I agree. I agree for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I say it's like easy or hard, I'm comparing to the rest of the ones that we've seen essentially.
That's a good point.
Not to our, current battle tactics or anything like that. And then the last one, destruction, time to get stuck in. Pick 3 friendly units that are not in combat and are wholly within friendly territory. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if each of those units is wholly outside your territory and used a fight ability this turn.
Right. We didn't hear any of that. We didn't hear.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
How about that?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, it's bad.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Can you explain why? Like I didn't get it at first, and
so you were talking earlier about how when you have multiple layers of requirements on an objective, it's just multiple points of failure, right?
yeah.
This is that kind of to the extreme, because it's so first of all, you pick 3 friendly units.
Right.
They can't be in combat. They have to be wholly in your territory, which for some battle plans is really easy, and some battle plans it's not. So like, let's say you have like there's no man's land in the center, and it's like this, right?
Yeah.
You have like enemy territory, friendly territory. All your dudes are here. That's super easy. But if you're on one that's like 11 inches up, like you're not going to be able to do that, right? That's going to be super, super, super difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, and they have to survive. There's like so many layers to this.
Yeah, because they have to start wholly in,
Yeah.
end wholly out. All of them have to have charged.
Yeah.
And all of them have to have survived.
And you have to pick them ahead of time. Like the order one, you don't even have to pick them. So they can be off the battlefield, like you said. Whereas these ones, you have to pick them. They have to survive. Like they have to make their charges. And like, I don't even remember what else. Like there's just, it's so easy for them to fail. And then, sorry, I forgot to, anyway. So it's,
there's a lot of points of failure here.
There's so many points of failure. Yeah. And like destruction doesn't tend to have like really great saves. So like it kind of gets compounded. Hopefully they're at least speedy.
Yeah.
And we're not saying like, oh, destruction screwed. Like it's none of that kind of thing. It's the opposite of that. Like, yeah, the underlying thing is we don't know what's going to happen, but
that being said,
yeah.
In comparison to all of the ones that we've seen so far, I would consider this one hard but not impossible. Whereas if you're comparing it to third edition battle tactics, it would be like just don't even pick it ever,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that does bring up a good point, which is I think they're making battle tactics intentionally harder to score overall.
It seems like it. Yeah.
I think that they're trying to avoid. I'm going to score this battle tactic, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. Because even if you scroll up and look at the two positional ones that we saw, seize the center, go near the center of the board. It's like cool. If I'm playing against like Iron Jaws or an Alpha Strike army or something like that, like I don't want to do that. Like that's setting myself up to be like absolutely murdered next turn.
Yeah.
Take the flanks. Maybe you're not playing an army that has chaff or like some, useless unit that you can just throw to the sides of the board. Maybe you have to stay as a castle, and that's like really messing with your game plan.
Right.
It also specifies the short battlefield edges, which means that you're like, you can't do it while being mostly on one side of the table. You have to like be literally spread across the board, and that can mess with someone's game plan quite a bit.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's a good thing. I think they're going to be able to stratify the scores more and more with this, which I think it's good for the competitive scene, and I'm not really a part of that, but it's just kind of good in general. And also like the more you stratify it, the more it increases the likelihood of having like the underdog or whatever you call them, the person who's, and then that sets off more within the battle plan, and you're getting kind of more out of them at the same time. So yeah, I really like it a lot. Okay. And then we are on to the new, what are they called?
Prosecutor?
Prosecutor, thank you. They're pretty awesome. Right? Like, they're pretty sick. I like that they're not using the clear rods anymore. The tactical rock is in full swing here.
Yep.
You can have.
Well, the old prosecutors have like scrolls that are coming down to the ground or whatever.
Right. I didn't remember that, to be honest.
Yeah. Looking at the old ones too is crazy. I don't know why I remember the old ones being like nicer than they actually are, but they look really.
They were like their first edition. Yeah, they're like their opening stuff, right? I don't mean like they came out within first edition. I mean like they were the start. They were there from the beginning.
I just sent you a picture of the
sure
prosecutors. If you want to do like a side by side or something,
but that's a great idea.
Well, like I originally saw this prosecutor, I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like he looks pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about the face actually being shown in the helmet.
I feel the same way.
I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's cool, and the wings are awesome. The trident's really cool. I like the bit of chainmail on his belly. Yeah, that's really cool. And then I looked at the old ones and I'm like, oh, these look like
God dang.
Not great.
Yeah. Like this is like, prepare yourselves. Okay. I don't know if I can do it side by side, but
even
like,
if you don't, just like a reveal, right?
Yeah. That's brutal. Like, I don't mind their wings personally. I don't mind them. I'm not saying they're better. They're not. Straight up, they are not. Right? But these chunky monkeys, man, they are. Whew. That is.
They look like little like babies with their limbs just kind of dangling. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Get them.
That's true.
Like, there's no way that hammer.
I think they could still do better on the legs. Like they could be a little more dynamic still. Like if I'm just being totally, I'm not here to suck them off about Stormcasts, right? Like this is fine. It's like they're in the legs department. Obviously this is an insane upgrade on everything else. It's not even close. But yeah, I think like legs wise, they could do a little bit better, but overall, yeah.
Yeah.
Neither one of us are into Stormcast, and I would give like with that disclaimer, I would give it an 8 out of 10. These sculpts, so that's pretty darn good. And I like the trident on the leader. I'm not a huge fan of the Centurion style weird metal mohawk thingy. But other than that, yeah. Yeah. Go to a deadhead off a pull-up bar and see how dynamic your legs look. I've done that before, sir, and they were majestic, okay? Anyway, sorry, I did lose some of the chat there. These are really cool. I wish that, like, I think they could reveal more models. Like, if we're just gonna get like, are we really gonna get like one per week until the game comes out? Because like, I don't know. I think I'm hoping that eventually we just see everything.
Well, they've said that at the Dallas Open, they're going to be they're doing like a what's in the box.
Right. Right.
So
when's the Dallas Open again?
The 16th, I think.
Of May?
Yeah. So 2 weeks from now.
Shoot. Okay. Well then, so it'll be like 1 week from now. We'll see this. We'll see what the equivalent Skaven unit, probably Rat Ogres or Giselle, and then probably the next week we'll get the full meal deal. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I like it. I like it a lot. As someone who has, I'm sorry, Logan, 3 sets of these guys and literally never played with them, I hope they still have garbage rules so I don't have to finally get around to painting them. Well, you get the new ones, and then, you can have like the out of print ones as well. Full face helmet. I agree. I'm with Keith on this. A lot of people really like the open face helmet, and I'm glad they have that option. But I am definitely a closed face guy.
Oh, do they have the option?
Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I think so. I thought I read that, but now I'm not seeing them. Should I turn on the video?
Let me just take a look.
Okay. Here.
Yeah, okay, there's a little disclaimer that says, in fact, these guys can be built with classic closed helms or new style open face.
Right.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
But I just completely rescinded my comment about that, because I would rather the people who prefer it open would have the option.
For sure.
And if I were to buy them, which I honestly probably won't, I would build them closed face for sure.
Closed face, yeah. I used to do that with my Space Wolves for Space Marines. I did a lot of like helmet off kind of stuff, and then Ryan made fun of me because he's like, that's like during a war you're gonna go without your helmet on, like your tactical probably heads up display, etc. as well. And I was just like, yeah, man, that's true, but I wanted to paint. I didn't want to paint the same thing all the time, but I largely went helmet on after that. And then the final article is about
those rules in the prosecutor one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is crazy. Like,
I can just read it out.
Sure.
Wait, sorry, what's crazy?
Well, the ability.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Do they have a war scroll?
They didn't show us the full war scroll, though.
So we just know this.
However, the Ruination Chamber ability, which is once per turn, per army, I think is what that in parentheses means.
Right.
Like for the whole army. Reaction, this unit was picked as the target of a non-core ability. Make a resistance roll of d6. On a 4+, that ability has no effect on this unit. So I think we know that fight is a core ability, for instance. Shoot is probably going to be a core ability.
Right.
So like it's not going to be that, I'm going to fight this guy, and on a 4 you can't. I'd imagine it's something like you cast a spell that targets them, you use an ability that deals damage or something that targets them. So that's pretty nice, but it is once per turn over the whole army, I think, which is a little swingy, but I think it's more useful as like a deterrent is what a lot of people were saying.
I mean, but like it also might be like your like game-winning move. It'd just be like, oh, sorry, that just didn't go off. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Sorry, bro. Like that could really, like, I don't know. This seems really strong to me because everything's an ability now. It's
that's
like
true.
like counter charge. You know what I mean?
Well, countercharge wouldn't matter because you don't pick them as the target of countercharge, right?
Oh, you declare that, and then they just
Yeah.
end up nearby. That's
Yeah.
true. That's a good point. Okay, okay.
Same thing with like redeploy. That now it just
Right,
happens. Same
right.
thing with
Yeah, that's a
even countershoot because you're not selecting this unit with that ability, and even that those might be core, right? I haven't actually checked. They have keywords on them, so
right. That's what
there's
I was originally thinking you were going to say, to be honest.
yeah,
So, but like my, to be honest, it doesn't really change what my feeling that much on it because everything's an ability, including picking a battle tactic. So like I choose this unit as the unit to kill with my battle tactic. Actually, no, I think that would hopefully be a core ability. But like if it's
yeah.
not, I don't know. It's going to get funky. I don't know that they necessarily planned out all the ramifications of this particular ability. Is my ultimate point. You know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but also you have to be really careful, and I think there's going to be a lot of misinterpretation of
Yep.
this.
Yep.
But like, for instance, the picking the battle tactic ability isn't that ability says nothing about picking a unit,
That's true, and it
right?
doesn't
You're
affect
picking a
this
tactic to
unit.
do.
That's true. You're not, and it doesn't affect. Yeah, that's true. But like the word, what do you call it? The word and English like grammar lawyering is inevitably gonna happen. Um, yeah, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll see though. Like, I mean, I can definitely see it being useful.
yeah.
A lot of people in the chat have some thoughts about it as well. I see Leviticus says that, or we'll start with Keith, which says, pretty sure it will just be stuff like spells and strike class type abilities. I agree. I feel like the nice thing is that if they have those keywords under each ability that can like target units and stuff like that, we'll be able to really easily see like, okay, this is going to affect those guys and this one isn't. Leviticus says that I think it's just a feel bad ability because it either hits and turns off your best targeted ability or it doesn't hit and the Stormcast Eternal player whines all game about how useless.
Yeah.
I agree
Yep. I
because
think you nailed
I
it.
remember Halo, I think he was talking on his stream about how like I think he had like the Thunder Tusks or something, and there's this like weird middle ground sometimes that you reach in a game where it's like every opponent that you play against hates playing against your army, but you still don't win,
Right.
right? So it's like you can have an army that's annoying to play against or an ability that's like annoying to deal with, but it doesn't win you the game.
Yep.
And I think that's like the worst of both worlds. So hopefully
That's
this doesn't end up being that, but I see what you're describing for sure.
I think you both nailed it actually, and I think that might be what is kind of bothering me. Yeah. Actually started bending bullets to. Right. Are we good to move on to the final article?
There's one more ability.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm really into Stormcast. You see.
Yeah. You can't wait to get out of this article.
It's not that bad, to be honest. I actually just thought the spell one was the most exciting out of any of them.
Yes, I agree.
And I actually meant to go down, like, because I did remember that they showed their backs, and I did want to show it because I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It like little.
It's very much a backpack and like mechanical. You know what I mean? It's less
Yeah.
like mystical. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It feels more like the Rocketeer than it does like. But anyway, sorry. Add 1 to the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls for this unit to a maximum of 3. So it doesn't say anything about charging it at 18 inches, but it just makes them a lot more reliable, and that's cool.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty neat.
Once a game per unit isn't too powerful. That's fair. I kind of think I was feeling what Ludivicus said.
It is once per turn, not once per game.
It is once per turn. That's true.
Yeah.
I think what beefy means is like you can only do it once per unit or something, maybe.
It says once per turn and then in parentheses army. So to me that
Oh yeah,
says
yeah, you're right. So you could do it with the same unit, I think.
you can do it with the same unit every turn, but to me that says that you can't do it multiple times a turn, period,
For
across
sure. Yeah,
multiple units.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Otherwise, that's messed up. That's
Yeah, for every unit that you select as the target of something that has ruination chamber, that would be a lot.
that
Yeah.
would be crazy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. How do you paint your Stormcast? I have a terrible box art compulsion, but I don't want to redo my Dominion set. That's an interesting question. I don't paint Stormcast, but I would probably do it Hallowed Nights if I were going to, you know? Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Can I...
Manifestations. Let's go to the manifestation station.
So, summoning manifestations. Okay. As mentioned in our previous article, manifestations have now been grouped into thematic lores, and you will be able to pick one of these lores alongside your spell lore. So, it says alongside your spell lore. I thought it was instead of.
I think what it means is that they are alongside your spell lores in that you can choose from them in the same
I
pool.
see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just poorly worded, but who knows? Maybe it will be both. I hope not. But
I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. Their wording is not good here, but I think you're right ultimately. Okay. So then, each manifestation lore provides spells or prayers which allow you to summon the manifestations in that lore. Factions which have their own unique manifestation lore can choose to pick that lore for their army. Alternatively, any army, even those with a unique manifestation lore, can pick one of the following universal manifestation lores. So Forbidden Power, you get Shards, you get Longchamp, Horrorghast, Lawnchair, yeah, and Soul Scream Bridge. This is cool. I think it's pretty fantastic as long as they clean up some of the, you know what I mean? Like the Vermin Lords in this edition, they can't pick any of the spells from the Skaven. They can only pick general spells, which is really dumb. And if that was like somehow made it into the rules, I'm sure it won't for the Skaven, obviously, then it would prevent them from casting endless spells, which is one of the few things that they can do right now. So yeah, but assuming that they're not stupid or whatever, I'm trying not to use, whatever. I think this is good. Like, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Beefy also says, click on the next picture. It shows you more than one manifestation lore.
Right.
Here, so.
Right. Yeah. So this is from the original box set. You would get Purple Sun, Gravetide, Soul Snare, and Malevolent Maelstrom. And then this is interesting. You only get 3 in this one. Hopefully they make up for making them better. Cogs, Swords, and Pendulum. And then there's Primal Energy, Life Swarm, Burning Head, Ravenix. And yeah, wow, they showed all of them. I didn't realize that. Spell Portal, Geminid's Palisade. Is there more? Oh, or Kronspine. Like, that's his own. I did see someone mentioning that. Wow. Wait, what? What?
He's got to change, right?
He's gotta change. That's lunacy. Like the Skaven spells.
Kronspine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Every time. Yeah, he's got to be drastically different. And hopefully he doesn't have any of that like levels bullcrap that everyone in their right mind hates. Wow.
Well, they talk a little bit more about that immediately after this. Actually, if it says, with under the interacting with manifestations section.
Yep.
So it seems like they're going to be easier to get rid of.
Right.
In general. So it says, for the most part, manifestations now work in much the same way as units, which offers more counterplay than ever before. This immediately This is immediately apparent when you take a look at the Manifestation's War Scroll. So if you look at Quicksilver Swords, has an 8-inch move, 6 health. It's got a 7+ banishment value. So that's
Right.
referenced in the spellcasting thing earlier. You can roll 2d6, and if you get a 7+, then it's gone. And then it's got a 5-up save. If you look at its keywords, it's a manifestation, an endless spell. It has fly, and it has a 6+ ward. And then it's got 1 melee weapon, which is the Quicksilver Blades itself, which is just 3 is Ren 1, 1 damage, and then if you roll a critical, it's a mortal wound. So on average, like 2 mortal wounds on 12 attacks. And then the passive is Dancing Blades. Ward rolls cannot be made for damage points inflicted by its manifestation's attacks. So that's cool. I like that it's not just mortal wounds and they can't be negated.
Agreed.
It's an actual attack, which is really neat.
Yep.
So.
And I mean, it'll really depend. Like, I think the main value, like the endless spells as they sit right now are way better, right? Because like right now, like if you don't have a hero, they're not going anywhere, right? Free reign. But now, like theoretically, actually, it's not even that hard. Like a unit of clan rats could take this thing out, you know? And it's not even that hard because it's only got, I mean, it has a 6-up ward. I do get that. But like 6 wounds with a 5-up save and even a 6-up ward, like I put my money on the clan rats. And I don't think I've ever said that before in my life. Right?
Yep.
So, but as we'll see in a minute, there's more to this, you know, than meets the eye.
Yeah. The Dipicus brings up an interesting point. They say an interesting thing is that they don't have casting values. Why do you think that is?
On here.
Yep.
I don't know.
So does that mean that I can't imagine it's the banishment value? It's the same as the casting
it's gonna
value?
be, I'm sure it's gonna be the banishment value -1.
Well, the thing is though is that banishment is always 2d6. And then manifestations don't have to just be spells. It can be, we know that now that they can be what are currently known as like invocations. And then also Kronspine, right?
Yeah.
So that means that maybe it's going to be something to do with you just get it unless it's like double ones or something, and then in order to deny it, it's
wow.
You try and beat its banishment, maybe.
I think you're onto it. I think you cracked the code.
That was a complete guess.
No, I think that's a great guess. Huh.
Heath says casting values will probably be in the lores. That makes sense.
And maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah.
It's kind of like a points value.
Yeah.
Because if these don't have points associated with them whatsoever, then I can see that being in the lore.
They've always been on the card before, though.
Yeah. But I think, like, that's another way that they're reducing. All right. Bye, Dan.
Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Another way that they're reducing, like, having to. So if you look at a card and they have to, like, change the casting value of something or something like that.
Yeah.
Then they probably want their cards to last as long as possible.
But this is probably going to be part of the GHB like it currently is.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, the endless spells are all in the GHB, the general ones.
Oh yeah. That's true.
So, yeah. I don't know. You might be onto it, though. That would have been, like, that'd be a great call if you are. If you're right. Yeah. I mean, like the first thing you'll notice is like, yeah, we see that. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, you can shoot them. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. There's a giant vortex of mythical swords.
I mean, if you can punch them, right?
Shoot it with a cannon.
Yeah, I mean, if you can punch them, though, it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yo, what up, Sean? It was good to see you on Saturday, my friend. Yeah, okay. So all manifestations models can move through manifestations but cannot end a move on them. Right? Units can finish a charge move within half an inch of them, and they can be picked as the target of an enemy abilities like shoot or fight. Can be damaged or destroyed, but don't count as destroyed unit for battle tactics. Can only use core abilities or core abilities on their war scroll. They cannot use commands or be affected by friendly abilities unless they specifically affect manifestations. Cannot contest or control objectives. Yeah, that's all makes sense. Moving manifestations, this is where they split down the line. You'll typically need to set up 9 inches away from them. So they basically count as an enemy unit. Which, and this is what I was talking about earlier, this changes the game. Like armies that like suffer or have a hard time with chaff, endless spells with, that move are going to be really good for keeping that stuff out. Like, I'm really excited, and I'm playing army with obviously with a lot of chaff. Like my main army is Skaven. So anyway, typically cannot. Sorry. Yep.
I was going to say what I also like about it too, though, is that it's bringing it towards being able to interact with it again, though.
Yeah.
Because one of the speaking with as like a very specific example with the Stonehorn, one issue that I had is if someone had like a big endless spell in front of like a whole bunch of units, it just made it so that I effectively just can't get to that unit if it's like a bottleneck, just because I can't end my move on top of them.
Right.
Whereas if an endless spell is instead movable and it just sits there, like
and it takes damage.
It takes damage. I can run into it.
Yeah.
A, potentially kill it with the impact mortals or something like that. But B, now I can bounce off of it, assuming like the Stonehorn ability is a thing. But I'm just saying that there's interactivity there that wasn't there before. Whereas like previously, it's like you can't get rid of invocations. You can't do anything about a endless spell that's just sitting there. Whereas now you can, which is really nice.
And yeah, they're adding more and more ways of the non-active player being involved at every part of the game. It's no longer like go and take your tea and I'll see you at the end of your double turn or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's also
yep.
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that like the other part of this, that is adding to the interaction is you can typically cannot be set up within 9 inches of enemy units either, and can't move in the movement phase after being set up. So there's that's pretty interesting.
Well, that second part is interesting too, because it implies that these do move in the movement phase. Whereas right now it's at the end of the hero phase, and not only is it at the end of your hero phase, it's your opponent's too.
Yeah.
So, you're moving just to like counter what your opponent's doing essentially. Whereas now it's assuming this is following the same rules. You can only move it in your movement phase and then probably redeploy it later. Actually, you can't redeploy it. We said that they can't really receive commands. So, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about you can't move them in the movement phase, because it's like, so they just sit there, And I guess
but if they're free, then
that's true. I mean,
right up, right?
The other thing too is that it might be, like you might be able to cast it in your opponent's hero phase too, using the command or whatever, right?
Yeah, the unleash spell, as Keith said,
which is another way of. Oh, did he? I'm sorry. But that's another way of interacting in the other person's turn. That's another way of like setting up chaff. Like it's awesome.
Yeah. Thumbs up. And then for static manifestations, you can ignore them with setting up units. You can move within 3 inches of them, and you can freely move away from them. They cannot use any abilities that involve moving, and then typically they have more freedom to place when summoned. So,
yeah,
neat.
Very cool.
Neat. And then we have an example of a static manifestation, the Prismatic Palisade, which is it doesn't move. It still has 8 health. So that's the interesting thing, is that you still. Which implies that you can still charge it, I guess.
Yep.
It's just that you can still move within 3 inches of it, though, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
So you can get like right up to it, and then you have a guaranteed charge. And then
or you could run into combat with it, right?
True. Very true, actually. Yeah, you could.
That's interesting. And it doesn't have an attack profile.
It doesn't. Yeah, no. But it does have health.
Yeah.
It's health and has a 4-up save, so it's a little tougher.
And a 6-up ward.
and a 6-up ward.
Yeah.
And then it's got a passive ability, which is Blinding Light. The effect is this manifestation cannot be targeted by shooting attacks. In addition, a unit cannot be targeted by shooting attacks if it is impossible to draw a straight line from a model in the attacking unit to a model in the target unit without that line passing across this manifestation. So basically, this like plops down a piece of obscuring terrain
Yep.
of some kind.
It hasn't changed that much, other than like these wild general changes, obviously. But
Yes, yeah. So, but it's kind of neat. You know, you can't just shoot it off the board.
And that makes
you have
sense.
to
It's
go
like,
up and smack it or
Yeah.
or banish it.
and that's part of its like lore or whatever. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I like it.
me too.
Pretty cool.
And
And
now
then we see a faction terrain feature.
this is crazy. This is really wild.
I'm going to pull up the current rules
Sure.
for the Magmic Battleforge.
Okay.
But so that's what this is.
Right.
The big thing that is like screaming out towards us right now is that faction terrain also has health,
Indeed.
which means you can walk up to it and you can punch it, which is awesome. This one has
Kinda.
a 3 save and 8 health,
Yeah.
and it says the following universal terrain abilities apply to this terrain feature, which we don't know what those are yet. It does say cover, impassable, and obscuring, but we'll see exactly what that means later. Then it has a once per battle army, your hero phase ability, which is you declare you pick a friendly Fire Slayer's Priest within this terrain features combat range to expend the power of the Forge. The effect is heal D3 each friendly Fire Slayer's unit on the battlefield. Once this ability has been used, this terrain feature cannot use the Molten Blessing ability for the rest of the battle. And the Molten Blessing is like their once per turn, start of any turn ability that they can use. So if we look at right now, spending the Forge is this is the old rules. Once per battle at the start of your hero phase, instead of using this terrain feature's Molten Blessing, you can pick one of the friendly Fire Slayer's Priests within 6 inches, spend all of its energy. Then, until your next hero phase, friendly Fire Slayer's units on the battlefield have a ward of 6+. However, for the rest of the battle, Fire Slayer's Priests can no longer use this terrain's Molten Blessing ability. So basically, you're trading a one-time heal D3 for a one-time for a whole turn or until your next hero phase 6 of ward. So
Right.
that's kind of neat. It's just functionally different.
It is.
Part of that makes me assume that it's just that there's less rules in the index so that they couldn't. Actually, no, that doesn't interact with that whatsoever, so never mind. But yeah, it's interesting that they just changed it to a heal instead of a ward.
Yeah. Yeah. And this thing has a ward, by the way. I just checked. I didn't notice it earlier.
It has a 6-up.
Yeah, it has a 6-up. Yeah, and a 3-up regular save.
Yeah.
But it's
then-
kind of interesting. Like, you're going to be able to interact. Like, my clan rats could theoretically kill this Magmic Battleforge. Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
It
I'm
is
not-
neat.
I'm not sure how I
and then-
feel about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it might be not great, but it's always something that they can tweak later. So I'm not too worried about it. But yeah,
It makes me wonder, can you charge faction terrain?
and if not, then you can. Surely you.
You just run up to it and smack it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Interesting.
Unless
Interesting.
someone's in it, and then
Right.
it's the same as now, I guess. But
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, you know what? It makes sense that you wouldn't have to charge a piece of terrain that's empty, because it's like.
Some people use charge to get extra movement, though, right?
That's true. Oh man.
Yeah. Because if you're like a standard orc moving 4 inches,
Right.
you're kind of relying on that 2d6 extra to
That's
get
true.
in here, right?
That's true. Yeah.
But anyway, there's also the start of any turn Molten Blessing, which is you declare, pick a friendly Fire Slayer's Priest within this terrain features combat range to be the target. And the effect is add 1 to chanting rolls for the target for the rest of the turn. In addition, the target can use the Unbind ability this turn as if it had Wizard 1. That's really cool. And that kind of factors into the whole balance of like, do you want to keep an Unbind to be able to potentially stop your opponent from using a command ability and then
I love it.
trying to unbind that, whereas this is just like you just get it.
Yeah.
You can just unbind once, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. So
Yeah, that's
I
sick.
like that.
I totally agree. Yeah, you don't have to use up any of your other resources, and
Yeah.
it's also not game breaking, but it's just really cool. Yeah.
100%.
Handy
Pretty cool. And then
P.
if you use your heal, you can't do that anymore.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Should I go down to the hero face stuff? Or
Why don't we take a look at the chat, see if anyone's got any.
oh, sure. Sorry. Yeah. Um, let's see. Do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, Ladificus was saying that same thing. I mean, a swarm of rats pooping on a forge is bound to do something to it. That's true, especially if they're like, consuming a lot of magic cocaine. Yeah. Like, I saw Conan O'Brien talking about after he went on Hot Ones. I don't know if you watched it. He's an animal on there. And he talks about, like, everyone wants to know what happened after the show. Because, like, I've never seen anyone do that. Like, there's been a couple of heroes on there. And he's like, oh, yeah, I stopped by this construction site and I welded a bunch of girders. And they're saying they've never seen those temperatures before. But the downside was I had to join the union. Whatever. He goes on this, like, long, like, this. It's so good. I'd highly recommend it. It's on his podcast. Yeah. But that's what I was thinking of. Doesn't have the keyword. It does not have. I say yeah. It is. It's like it's a manifestation, but it's not. If that's what you mean, Bahamut. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I'm noticing, the setup rules for this is not on the War Scroll either.
That's
Huge
true.
fan of that, because it's so annoying seeing, like, on every single different piece of faction terrain feature, like, this one can deploy in enemy territory and this one can't, and this one can do this, and you have to kind of, like, be paying attention to that all the time. Whereas now, presumably, there's going to be a universal, like, you can set up your faction terrain in this way.
And there will be not universal. There will be, like, exceptions, surely. Like, you
Probably,
can't,
yeah.
like, well, I mean, like, gnaw holes just kind of don't work if you have to set them all up in your own territory and blah blah.
Yeah, but maybe the Magmic Battleforge doesn't have to be set up in your territory either, right?
Yes, no, for sure. Oh, that's true. I just, like, the gnaw holes likely wouldn't. It's very hard to make them conform. Like, they've tried to do it before. Like, they've made rules where it's like all terrain must be outside of 3 inches of the edge of the battlefield or something like that, or it's like 4 or 5 inches before. And Skyrim players were like, we can't do that. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So, or it had to be like exactly. Actually, I think that's what it was. Because they're exactly like, however, like 5 inches wide. So they had to be perfectly placed. And like, if the terrain was a little bit off and you just didn't get to place 1 or 2. So anyway, it's, I'm sure, I think there will be like exceptions, but that'll just be on the thing. Like they'll have universal setup rules for sure, like you said, and then probably, not definitely, but probably you'll have, like, some of them will be like, this doesn't use the normal rules for setting up terrain. This is what you do. And then it just explains it. And then you just need to remember, that one thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Instead of like 90% of the wording being exactly the same.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, wait, it doesn't say, it says 1 instead of 3.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Should we move on to the next bit?
Let's do it.
Okay. Like static manifestations, faction terrain features don't threaten units around them, so you can freely move up to and away from them, unless they have a hero placed on them. For example, in the case of the Skull Altar, some rare faction terrain features can move or fight. That's interesting. Stay tuned for faction-focused articles to learn more. So I could see the Skaven one moving, too. You know what I mean? As they work their magic or whatever. Of course, faction terrain...
Gonna fight.
What's that?
100% the mob.
Yeah. And probably move. Like
possibly.
Like like a sandworm or whatever,
Yeah. And like the Shrine Luminor comes to mind for, like, it could probably be moving around because it's floating in the air.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be like a combat-based one. It could just be like shifting around the battlefield. So yeah.
I really like that idea. Um, of course, faction terrain is particularly important for some factions such as Sylvaneth. These factions now have new abilities to summon additional terrain features throughout the battle, such as Sylvaneth's unlimited spell, Tree Song. And by the way, unlimited means you can do it as many times. Each wizard can do it if they want.
Yeah.
So that's important to remember. Declare, pick a friendly Sylvaneth wizard to cast this spell, then make a casting roll 2d6. If there are fewer than 3, and which I love, because like now you can't like just string them across the battlefield and ruin everyone's day.
I saw the word unlimited and I was like, oh dear God, no.
Yeah. I didn't, to be honest, but I went straight to this and I was just like, oh, this is so much better. It also makes it easier on some of the Sylvaneth players. They no longer have to cart around 50 million woods. They can just, have a max of, it's already a lot, frankly, 3 of those sets, but putting that aside, if they have fewer than 3 wildwoods on the battlefield, you can set up an awakened wildwood wholly within 18 inches of the caster, more than 3 inches from all enemy units, which is another good thing I like, objectives and other terrain features. If there are already 3 on the battlefield, heal 3 friendly awakened wildwoods. So you can still cast this spell, and you could keep casting it because it's unlimited, and you could bring them back to health, which is super thematic, and it's freaking awesome. I think this is dope. Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. I also really hope that with the addition of health to faction terrain, I really hope that when you walk up and you punch a faction terrain to death, it actually just gets taken off the table.
Yes.
Because I really hate this whole thing right now where it's like, it's in almost every single piece of terrain, like faction terrain or whatever in the game. It's like, oh, even though you stopped it and it's like gone and destroyed, I can still do all my abilities that involve it, just because like they just say that it has to be there. I just can't use like the abilities that are on it, right? So it's like, even if you stop a tree, you can still like war song bomb through it right now. Whereas it'd be nice to be like, okay, you summoned a tree next to me, punch, it's gone, goodbye. Like that. Right. I really hope that that's the case.
That would be good. I think some of them, like Sylvaneth or like Skaven, like there's a few of them where I'm hoping that they have something similar to Sylvaneth here where they can set up a new one if you're able to do that, and that it keeps the interaction going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, I totally agree though. Unlimited, what was, sorry, someone, the lunch, it calls to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this was meant to be a joke, Bahamut, but when he put unlimited Skaven spell, open Nahole, and like, I just, it sounded like opening up a business to me. Like it was the first way I read it, and it just made me laugh. Like open Nahole or whatever, or like drill Nahole or whatever. Like it doesn't sound bad. It's just probably the way I read it in my head. Yeah, my inner narrator.
Ogre ability. Make more soup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I wonder, a cool universal ability too would be like let's say you don't take it off the board for some of them, like the Warforge. Maybe there's like an army ability to repair it. You know what I mean, or something like that. Like fix my Warforge.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But also, I'm thinking about ogre ability. Feed soup to Mop Pit. Yes.
Wait, what?
I want there to be an ogre ability where you have both faction terrain features and you have to feed soup to the Mop Pit. It's like, I don't care what you're doing over there. I'm trying to get this Mop Pit some soup.
That would be
all right.
Awesome. That's the thing that I didn't know that I wanted to happen. And I have no intention of ever playing ogres because you play them. You are the ogre guy. The only thing I was ever interested in anyway was definitely BCR. And you got that covered. I live vicariously through you. And yet, I now want this to happen. I need this to happen. Yeah. And like, even if it's like, okay, if you take both, then you pay a certain amount of points or whatever. Like, even if there's some kind of thing, and even if it's bad, I want this to exist. I want people to be able to do this thing that I didn't know about until 15 seconds ago. With the gets terrain piece, that's all I ask. I don't even care if they change what it does. Just don't make it poopy. That would be good. I agree. A lot of people went through a lot of hardship to get their Loon Shrines because of GW manufacturing issues, and
Yeah, it's gonna be nice when they make Loon Shrines summonable, so that you have to buy more of them.
yeah. Oh God, I hope not. Oh man, I would love it if the Gloomtide Shipwreck was just not the worst faction terrain in the game. Just like one edition. I just want to see what it feels like to have
No,
like
no,
I know, right?
no, denied.
Yeah. I know. I know. A man could dream, damn it.
IDK are just so forgettable.
Hey! What did you say? I forgot.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Moving right along. All in all, manifestations. By the way, I only remember Deepkin stuff when I shave my head. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah. All in all, manifestations and faction terrain features are now much more integrated into the core game. Totally agree. Mechanics and are involved in nearly every phase of the game. You'll also have more counterplay than ever to deal with these threats instead of being restricted to just banishing them with your wizards or priests. Join us the rest of the week as we'll be covering Spearhead, the fast, fun, and tactical new mode of play for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So that'll be interesting. We did get like a thing where they were like, we're going to reveal more models later today at one point. Or wait, that wasn't this? This was the last article.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
was the
Okay.
Stormcast article that
That's
says...
right. Does it still say that? I'm going to check.
Wait, does that?
There are still no. Yeah, they took it out, right? Yeah, they took it out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
What did he say? and then, yeah, that's not the case. I mean, so I'll leave up here. Chat, give me a quick vote. Which of these three prosecutors, which of these three attorneys do you like the most? We've got Spikehead. We've got Stabby and Throwy. Okay, those are the three. I'm gonna leave it up for the rest of the, I don't, just to prove that I'm not like hopelessly and only loyal to Skaven. I think of my fellow players. This will be a much better, thumbnail for the thing to auto generate. And if no one votes, I'm leaving it under Throwy just because he was last. So there you go.
Leviticus says, funny enough, the first Universal Endless Spells box sold out like 1 to 2 hours after this article.
Really? The
Yeah.
first one, really? Huh.
I do wonder if they're just repackaging it for 4th edition.
That's actually probably the case. Although, like, that just after this article is interesting. Like, if
Yes.
it was definitely there until, I mean, they are repackaging it. They do this every edition. So if your local Games Workshop still accepts trades for brand new boxes, you need to do it before the new edition or you won't be able to do it. Our local Games Workshop doesn't do that anymore, but I think most of them still do. So, yeah. Man, we've been really blessed, though, with a lot of articles this week, and I'm really thankful for it. I hope they continue to crank out more content. And I hope at some point we get kind of like a huge like dump of like most of the information,
I think at some point there's going to be too much for us to be able to actually cover in one stream with the time.
Yeah, this is already kind of a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. But as soon as they start doing like faction focuses, which I assume they're going to do like one every day or something crazy,
right?
It's not going to be. It's going to be way too much. And then I think at some point probably we'll do a stream on like dedicated to each Grand Alliance index or something like that, or maybe each army, or it depends on how big they are. But
yeah, I think so. I think we will and should do that. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have Forbidden Power, but I'm wishing I bought it. Yeah.
Forbidden Power's the
new one, like with the Nagash head and all that jazz.
Oh yeah. Horrorcast and yeah.
Horrorcast. Yeah. we kind of rushed through there. I don't know that I have a lot else to say, to be honest.
LVO got announced for
Right.
January 16th to 19th
That's
next
true.
year.
Get your tickets.
I'll be there.
Get your tickets. Or they're not for sale yet, right?
Probably like July or something. It's not for a while.
Right, right. So, yeah.
But I'll be there.
But I'll be there. I'll be there. They did not for Malign Importances. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. I've still got that box too. Interesting. Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, if there's nothing else that you can think of, cool. Okay, yeah. I'm just like, I just kind of like, it's just there was so much to go through, and I'm just like, I don't, you know what I mean? I kind of exhausted all my resources. But yeah, thanks to everyone for joining us. Yeah, hopefully we'll get lots more content throughout the rest of the week. And yeah, we've got a battle report coming out on Thursday.
Yep.
Which reminds me, I do need to do the thumbnail still. But yeah. Yeah. Sorry guys. I can't think of everything. Like, I swear there's more, but, yeah, really enjoyed, talking about all this new information. It's been really great. So hopefully we'll get a lot more, and we'll see you guys all next week. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Bye.